Hit the record button, record to the cloud. We are recording to the cloud. We are officially live on YouTube. Gentlemen, I'm excited. It's a beautiful Sunday. Benny, I'll let you bring us in as always.
Oh man, thank you very much, Khalil. Man, I'm just excited as you are today. We have another special guest, some more value to bring to our audience. I'm always looking forward to these calls just because of how much I learn and the great opportunity that this platform presents itself to network and meet a lot of different people and then also share our database and our resources to all our audience. So this is the Global Empowerment Team. We are back at you. This is being live streamed on YouTube. This is going to be the new format. Everything's going to be live streamed on YouTube. So if you want to follow us, please follow us on YouTube. We'll post everything else to our other social media platforms, Facebook and LinkedIn. But this is moving forward, will be the live platform. So you'll be able to reach us here on the YouTube channel, Global Empowerment Team. And man, Khalil, today's been productive. It's been purposeful thus far. We have so the weather is a little different today, but I'm blessed and I'm enjoying it. So how about you today?
I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning. With lightning coming down. It was starting to rain. I was like, what kind of tropical place am I in right now? I live in California, Northern California, don't I? But yeah, man, I know you were productive because I tried to call you earlier today and I couldn't get a hold of you. So I know when I can't get a hold of Benny, he's being productive somewhere, man. So same with me. I got to get out there. Look, I got to get out there at 8 in the morning and water my plants. But then I got to get back out there about 5 o'clock and water them again because my okra is growing, my squash is growing, my cucumbers growing, my tomatoes growing, my basil growing. And I'm looking forward to making some succotash with all that stuff that I got in my garden.
Oh man, that sounds good. we're gonna have an episode just on gardening. We're gonna show everybody our little gardens and just kind of be vulnerable around that. Look for tips because I got a couple of things in my garden right now. I actually got to take my bell pepper plant. I think I'm gonna take it to the nursery and show them some leaves or something because it's not doing too well. But I know it's some fertilizer mixes I gotta get set up. But yeah, man, it's funny. I'm excited just as much as you are about my garden. It's been cool.
Hey, but we do have our guest, Mr. Coach Keith Allison, on the show. How are you doing, Keith?
Oh man, blessed and excited to be here, man. And you guys got on that gardening tangent, and so green thumbs, I guess, flocked together because some of the things that you mentioned, I'm right there with you. My basil, my rosemary, my all different types of peppers, my bells, my yellow bells, my tomatoes, my beans and my cherries.
Nice.
Oh man,
I gotta come to your house,
right? We have to put together a gumbo.
Apple, you name it, I got it. Lemons, limes, you got it. I'm in there, man. So man, I'm just blessed to be here with you guys, and it's beautiful to see. Like I said before, I've been on a couple of your meetings with other empowering people, and just the things that they had to contribute to the global empowerment team is just phenomenal. So kudos to the former guest. I learned a lot, and thank you guys for having this platform and bringing this platform into existence. I'm honored. Yes.
Thank you. We
appreciate it. Yeah.
And we look forward to keeping that trend going with you continuing to empower us, educate us, inspire us in the same way. So I'm glad to have you on. And as we were talking before the show, I've known you for 34, 35 years of my life, and you have played a very impactful part in my life and my maturation, my love of sports, very positively. But I want to, when Benny and I were switching to the different spoke of being well, there's 5 spokes that go into it. We wanted to kind of switch more into health being wealth as well. Because you could have all the wealth that you could amass in the world, all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have health to successfully enjoy that knowledge and mentorship and some of those finances, then it means nothing. And you're someone who played a big part in me loving to stay physically fit. Although when you're young and you're playing basketball, you may not know, but as you get older, you realize and you're thankful for that. So I want to give you a proper introduction. I want to give you your roses while you're here, because I love you. Like from the bottom of my heart, man, you played an impactful part in being the person that I am. And anybody who knows me knows I love kids, and I had that same passion, that same energy that you had. I got that same passion and energy when I got kids around me as well. So I want to give you introductions into some and introduce to others, but I'm pretty sure not that many because a lot of people know who you are. Coach Keith Allison. Let me read your bio real quick. But Keith Allison rejoins the Comet family in 2020 as the head coach for Contra Costa College women's basketball after having served 18 seasons as an assistant coach. During his tenure as an assistant coach, Keith helped rally the Lady Comet to 7 Bay Valley championships, 4 consecutive from 2000 to 2004, 4 Final Four appearances, and 2-time runner-ups in the California Community College State Basketball Championship. Keith also volunteered his time every summer mentoring and coaching over 100 kids from the Richmond Rescue Mission Kings Club before the program terminated in 2014. In 2005, Keith left Contra Costa College to lead the Merritt Lady T-Birds as associate head coach. In that year, he turned the program from with 5 wins and 24 losses the prior year to a program with 16 wins and 14 losses, 9 wins and 3 losses in league, earning 3rd place. Coach Allison is a 30-year veteran physical education teacher and basketball coach with a wealth of knowledge and experience as a player and leader. Coach Allison has taught, led, and mentored student athletes at the elementary, middle school, high school, and college levels. And that's where I met him, was in elementary. Let me see. Keith helped Contra Costa Comet men's basketball program earn back-to-back Bay Valley championships before finishing his college basketball career at Sacramento State. Hornets for life, baby. Keith played semi-professional basketball, both stateside and abroad, before settling into his niche as a teacher and a coach. For 7 years, Keith worked as an adaptive physical education teacher, engaging special education students in physical education curriculum, earning the designation of Certified Mental Health Rehabilitation Specialist. Coach Allison has founded and directs Development of Court Skills, DOCS, Elite Basketball, a nonprofit organization committed to preparing young athletes for success and on and off the court through individual skill development and by stressing the program's core values: teamwork, respect, integrity, effort, and fidelity to wellness. As a player, Keith was best known for his shooting skills, I can attest to that, and defensive tenacity. As a coach, he is well known for his gift to motivate and develop young athletes. I can also attest to that. For some, teaching and coaching is what they do. For me, it is who I am. My greatest accomplishments are not realized through my success, but through the achievements of the young people who I have had the privilege of coaching and mentoring over the years. That's a direct quote from Keith. And lastly, Keith earned an associate arts degree from Contra Costa College with a double major in sociology and administration of justice. He is currently pursuing a combination bachelor's master's of arts in teaching leadership from St. Mary's University. My cousin Bobby, who you probably remember, went to St. Mary's as well. But welcome, Coach Allison. I'm happy to have you on the show. Talk about some of these accolades that you went over in your bio, and just introduce what you do, how motivating you were, not only on me, but 100 kids after that. So welcome to the show, man. We appreciate you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Humbled.
Yeah, no problem. But we mentioned something, and I want you to touch up on. And I've got a kid who's living in my house. I call him my son. He's like my adopted son, because as I told you, you don't realize the impact you had on people. When we talked about trust, and I want you to touch up on trust. But the trust level that it takes for someone to allow, because you're probably your late teens, your early 20s back when you used to come to my house and hang out with us all the time. You used to spend the night with us. We play video games. We'd hang out. We shoot hoop in the backyard because we had the hoop court in the backyard. And the trust level that a parent has to have to allow you to come in their home, I think is astonishing, because my mom loved you, my pops loved you, my brothers loved you, I loved you. And it's the same thing when I talk sometimes about the young man, Jordan, who's my son. He's 18 years old. He's going to college out here. He's living with me, moved from Arizona for for the last 3 years to come live with me. And the level of trust that his mom must have in me to allow her son to come and stay with me. I even mentioned the other day, I'm like, man, your mom ain't called. You've been here for 2 months. He's like, she trusts you. I mean, she know that I'm in good hands.
Right.
So I got that, honestly. Those are things that whether or not you know it, but people, you don't even have to say you got to do this. We just see you doing it, and it leaks into our fabric of who we are. So can you talk about that trust level, that trust factor, that when it comes to mentoring somebody, when it comes to mentoring a family, an individual, when it comes to really getting in that position of partnership, trust has to be there. Can you elaborate on that, touch up on that, why it's so important, and what do you do to come across this so trustworthy for all of these families to then believe in you?
Well, thanks for asking that. And you know, there's several layers to it. Number one, you are absolutely correct. I was approximately a year removed from high school, and I had a younger cousin, Sean Ballin, who was in the school. He was much younger. And so I would go up there, I would drop him off, or I would bring him lunch. And so it was coming to a practice where your brother was on the team, you know, Malik. And I mean, It was just like, you know, I'm thinking to myself, man, what nice guys. And, you know, your coach at the time, beautiful guy, worked really hard, his coach. And so he came up to me, saw me shooting outside a little bit with the guys and said, hey, man, would you mind being an assistant coach for the team? And so I said, well, yeah, you know, I mean, basketball, that's what I do. I would love that. So I can remember the song of the time back then was Rob Bass, It Takes Two. And
it
so
takes two to make a thing go right.
Yeah. So the first thing I did was have those guys have a come out routine. So they came out, our gym was upstairs.
You remember that?
They came out of the doors, they split up, went around, did the handshakes, went back through, and were doing their layup drills. And the principal walked in, Sister Barbara Nixon.
I remember.
That was my first boss. And so she saw the organization that I had put together in a matter of, I think it might have been an hour after I was asked. I say, hey guys, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come out to a little Rob Bass, and this is what we're going to do for the rally. And so after she saw that and we went through our rally, she walked over to me and she said, I'm Sister Barbara Nixon. I'm the principal here. I'm glad you're here with the boys. Would you like to be the physical education teacher here for kindergarten through 8th grade? And at that time, I had already gone to Chabot. I had been to some places and pursuing my own athletic career. Some things didn't work out for me there. I didn't see eye to eye, you know, with the coach, which happens when you're young. You don't see eye to eye with many people because you know all the answers when you're 18 years old. So answers that I thought I knew and I didn't. You know, Coach Patella was a great guy. I leaped at the chance. The most beautiful part about it was my father, Richard Allison, he owned a tavern right across the street, which was called the Grove Club. So I had to work over there anyway. I had to bust bottles. I like to think that I was one of the first guys, my brother and I, who were a part of the recycling program. So my dad had a big dump truck. We had to bust bottles. We had to separate the colors from green, brown, and white. And we also had to stomp cans. And we got a little bit of money for doing all that. We had to take it to the recycling bin and come back, but we didn't receive much money. So to have a real job and to do what I love to do was just a tremendous blessing. And the guys bought right in. They bought right in based on the fact that outside shooting around, and like they say, you know, man, Coach Allison, he can pull them from half court. He's hit 7 of those in a row. You know, how's he doing that? You know, everybody wanted a piece of that. They wanted to know how you do that. How do I get to that level? And so that to me was one of the most important parts and jumps into my journey. And the first thing, I think your mom was one of the first people that came up to me and said, wow, you know, welcome to the school. I'm so glad that you're here with the boys. And as genuine and as I've been taught by my mom and dad, I was more than humbled and thankful. That's back in the days of polo ties, and I dressed accordingly, and you know those things really mattered. You perform how you look, and so those things were the things that I infused right away into the program. And we were a pretty diverse school. We had a lot of African Americans, but we have excuse me, students who were of different ethnicities.
Yep.
And so I brought it all together. I just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to teach these young men how to coexist and get the maximum out of what they're trying to do. So that strength in numbers that you see across my chest, before this slogan even came out, I was a firm believer of that, we over me. And that's kind of how I jumped into it. And once I jumped into it and I was there, not only as a coach, but as a teacher, the parents saw that passion, just saw that I had love for not only my own kind, not only for the African-American kids, but for every single kid who came across me. I gave them the same love. I gave them the same information. I gave them the same belief that they could achieve whatever they wanted to achieve. It didn't matter about color. It didn't matter about race. It didn't matter about how much your parents made or where they lived. That didn't matter. That didn't matter to me. I rarely spoke on that. I rarely spoke on that. Yeah.
Benny, before I let you ask your question, he just brought up memory because I remember when they came out, because I tell people my gym was upstairs in the 1988 earthquake. I was at practice upstairs and that gym swayed back and forth. It was one of the scariest things, but I'll never forget when you had them come out, because it was those doors that you had on you come into the gym after coming up the stairs and you got the stands here and the left side had a door. And that left side, you can go back downstairs, and they came out that side, and he ain't lying. Everybody went around, they slapped hands. We are, oh my goodness. It was the coolest thing, the most organized thing that we had ever seen. And he brought that same level of commitment to PE. I remember playing kickball in your PE class. I remember shooting hoop in your PE class. I remember playing baseball in your PE class. Like, you were my greatest PE teacher, even to this, all the way through my scholastics, learning golf and all those different things because of what you instilled in us. You instilled in us has got to still be, even though we having fun, we have some fun, but there's going to be some rules and some regulations on how we have some fun. There's going to be some respect in how we have some fun. It's going to be some inclusion on how we have some fun, because everybody going to get a chance. There will be no discrimination and judging while we have fun. And those things then permeate through your life to where now you got a diverse group of people that you work with, you're inclusionary, all these different things. And it stemmed from what you did. So Benny, I'll let you ask your questions. I know you got a question. I just wanted to say, I lived what he's talking about. I lived it. I experienced it. I'm a product of it. So it really makes me resonate with it a little bit more.
No, definitely. You know, and what's funny is because that was actually the points I wanted to bring out. Because I mean, he definitely, you know, Keith, you went over a couple of things that really stood out to me. But Khalil, you hit right on it. You know, you mentioned your father, and you mentioned the values and the core beliefs that you've had, and how at 18, at 20, how that was so instilled in you that you were able to permeate that over to the youth that you were working with. And that job, you had a job. You know, it wasn't the most high-paying job. However, you had a foundation that was built, and it sounds like that was basically with the relationship of your father. So being able to take that, what you learned from your father, and then transfer it over into the youth, that just sound like they just gravitated towards you. I want to speak to more about that relationship with your father, because one, you as a mentor, you play that role in a lot of different youths, you know, lives, you know, because you have the youth that don't have a father at home, right? So you are that father in a lot of those situations. So the lessons that you've learned from your father and those values and those morals that were instilled in you as a young man learning from your father, what does that relate to? One, the youth that you mentor, and then two, I want to speak to about your relationship with your father. Like, what was that like for you?
Well, I can tell you right now, some people, and I'm like pretty much a lot of the West Oakland kids that grew up, and just to digress a little bit, like Khalil said, being able to play all sports, in West Oakland, that's what we did. Mm-hmm. We played baseball, we played basketball, we played football, we played tennis, we played hockey, we played everything. Right. And you wanted to play whatever you played at the highest level possible. And so that's how I infused that piece. But none of these things would be possible without the directives and the support from my father. Now, without mothers, there'd be no fathers. So my mom was just a true staple and a true root and respect. Number one for women, respect for self, and a respect for God. Just making sure that those things were intertwined in that. And if I had that under control, no matter how much I did the stumps and bumbles along the way, that everything would take care of itself. And my father was a firm believer. My father and mother were young parents. They were young parents in the 60s. And so they understood the struggle without having that academic foundation and not having that spiritual and that personal characteristic foundation of how much trouble one young man could get into of African-American descent. And so my father always instilled that into my brothers, my sisters, made sure that we understood and we took that lesson. I'm a product of Catholic school for 11 years. I went to Catholic school in West Oakland, and our Catholic school in West Oakland was slightly different than most Catholic schools because we were the tough school. There were many public schools in our area, but no one came to St. Patrick's and tried to start any troubles because, granted, all the kids in the neighborhood from the deep West Oakland, from Campbell Village, Dogtown, everybody went there who parents allowed them to go to Catholic school. And so it was a great upbringing. We didn't have a lot of lay teachers. A lot of them were nuns. A lot of our basketball coaches, as young guys, they were the priest. And then as we got older, coaches and lay teachers became more prevalent in Catholic school. So my dad instilled that spirituality and that comfort zone of saying, hey, you can be yourself, but please don't step outside yourself, because as your dad, then I must give you the love, whether it's good or a little tough. I'm always going to give you a pat on your back, whether it's up above your shoulders or a little bit below your waist. I'm going to give you that opportunity to make those corrections. And those lessons stuck with me, those stuck with me. And the one thing I always wanted to do was to make sure that my dad and my mom knew that they had done the right thing in raising me as young parents. And my father, to this very day, he was over here yesterday. My father and I spend, probably about 30 to 45 hours a week together. He comes over, he helps me with my house projects. I help him with his. Our bond is one of the tightest bonds that I have outside of my family nucleus. And you learn to appreciate that, and you learn to cherish those moments because those are moments that ingrain stability emotionally, stability physically, and making sure that I'm taking care of myself. And then the whole aspect of making sure that my family benefits from the stuff that he taught me. And so I love my dad. I love my dad tremendously. We talk about a lot of those times, and I tell him of how thankful I am that he was a part of my life. And I'm blessed because, you know, my mom and dad, being young parents, they separated young. And, you know, I'm not afraid to talk about that. I had two single parents, and my dad wasn't single for long because he met my stepmother a year later. And so they've been together to this very day. And so I was blessed to have two mothers and a father. And my stepmother loved me as if she laid down for those hours and had me herself. So that is my mother. My mother is my mother, and my father is my father. So that triangular effect of having that instilled and ingrained in who I am, you know, with my father being that spokesperson to help me along the way was just magnificent. It was just magnificent. I'm a little, you know, I understand the matriculation of life in itself, but I tell my two youngest sons right now, I go, man, you blessed, because some of the stuff you doing right now, had I done that, boy, and your grandfather was back in, boy, it'd be some problems. Man. But, you know, my dad, he's a matriculator of thought. He's a matriculator of spirituality. So he's helped me to curb how I approached dealing with my own kids. And so it allowed me to, again, pour that into the school community and treat everything that I do with other people's children with that same reverence, with that same love. So having that young man or that young lady who doesn't have a father in their life, well, they have a dad. And if you have a dad, now you have an uncle. And so we put all that, you know, we call that extended family. We call that blended. You know, that it's sometimes it takes those folks who doesn't have that same bloodline, although if we do the ancestry.com, we might all be related somewhere down the line. Right. But we take that piece and we ingrain it and we instill it into the next generation, into the people who are going to have to be here long after we're gone, we're gone. So and that's
exactly what you're doing. That's the purpose of what Benny and I are doing, is trying to have that same, like you said, matriculation into someone's maturation. And it's funny because my pops and I have that same relationship. Like my pops is here 3-4 days a week, man. He got projects. We built my son a little room in the back. He making a playroom for my daughter. I mean, he one of my best friends, like you said. So also, my mom ended up getting remarried, and her husband, like you just mentioned about your stepmom, that's my dad. I got two dads. I just happen to have my actual father, who's my pops, but her husband loved me like he been raising me his whole life. You know what I mean? Like I'm his son. So it's a couple of things you mentioned to me that honestly break stereotypes of what people got a lot of misconceptions of us as Black men coming from Oakland, coming from an inner city. Number one, they think Black men don't take care of their children, which anybody, it don't matter that my dad divorced from my mom, your dad divorced from your mom. My dad was a part of my life, my entire life. Okay. Right. Just like your pops is a part of your life, your entire life. Just like you're a part of your son, your children's life. I'm a part of my children's life. Like that misconception, just like Benny's a part of his son's life. That misconception that we deadbeat dads, we don't want to take care of our children. That's never been the case. Most Black men I know come from good lineage, and they have good lineage going on. Right. Second thing is, a lot of people don't realize how diverse in Oakland that we are. The fact that a lot of us, keeping it real, especially back from when, in our demographic, our age group, a lot of us went to Catholic school, St. Paschal, St. Patrick, St. Jarlath, St. Louis Bertram, Sacred Heart. Like that was our circuit. And you go into deep East Oakland, deep West Oakland, deep North Oakland to play these games. And you got kids who are products of those environments going to those Catholic schools. But what it did is this: it instilled, I would never trade my Catholic school years. As you mentioned, my first several years, it was Sister Barbara, Sister Carol, sisters. By the end of it, you had a Miss Horton, a Miss Tinsley, a Mr. Menezes, a Miss Draper. Like it started having lay people instead of just nuns and priests. But, exactly. But those had a religion class. And as much as I hated it back then, going to mass and having a religion class, you start learning the Bible. You start learning the application of the Bible in your own life. Yes. And even though you may not be a Catholic as far as your denomination, maybe you Baptist, maybe you AME, CME, it doesn't matter. that exposure.
Yeah.
Muslim, Buddhist, it don't matter. I don't care what you call God. Call him Yahweh, call him God, call him Allah, call him Buddha. We talking about the same person. Let's just keep it real.
Yep.
So that Catholic upbringing, though, instilled in us, and the things that you're doing was because of, in my estimation, not only that family molecular structure, but that community molecular structure, that scholastic molecular structure, including religion, including involvement and inclusion and all these different things. That's what makes you, when you're 18, fresh out of high school, come back into another Catholic school and start giving your best to it and continue doing that for the majority of your life, is because of these stereotypes that are not real, because of us being real people that really care about our families, ourselves, and our communities. So I just want you to touch up on, to tie all that together, your involvement that you have. What's your passion to keep you doing these things for the last 25, 30 years? What drives you as far as your passion and your purpose to keep you? I know I kind of just touched up on it, but I want to hear it out your mouth. Aside from the great relationship with your dad, the Catholic upbringing, all that, there has to be something for the last 20 or 30 years that still gets Keith every day energized to want to teach these young men and women basketball. Because when you teach basketball, you teach in life. The way you teach basketball and the way you teach sports, you make it applicable to life afterwards. Like, oh man, that inbound play where they pressuring me and coach told me to calm down, relax, read the floor, and make the right play. Don't get all jittery, but just relax. You've been there before. That's the same thing if I'm going to a job interview and they got a 3-panel job interview, so they triple teaming me on a 3-panel job interview. It's just like being triple teamed in a basketball game. Somebody open. How do I maneuver this situation for my best benefit moving forward? So with all that being said, what keeps you going? What keeps you passionate? What keeps you purposeful with everything you do every day?
Well, man, it's simple. It's like it's life's applicable assets. You know, you take basketball. Basketball requires a team. Again, it's we over me. I don't have to, and I use this right now in some of my classes. If we were an owner of McDonald's, and there's a great person who makes the burgers, there's a great person who makes the fries, there's a great person who makes the shakes, there's a great person who makes the salads. Hey, if we put all that together and the fries guy is not hating on the burger guy, and the burger guy is not hating on the shake guy, and the shake guy is not hating on the salad guy, then we have a solid store. We have a solid food chain, and we can make that chain, and we can make that chain as long as we like it. We can also say that your weakest link is what holds that chain together. So how do you take that weak link and make it stronger? Well, you don't talk about that weak link. You collaborate with that weak link to make that link stronger. You don't say, hey, this is my link and my link is strong. It's sturdy. It's on point. But that link over there, oh man, I don't know. I don't even know if I want to be connected with that link. Well, then that breaks the chain. That breaks the chain of what you're trying to do. So those life applicable skills in basketball actually pours right into the life system. You're going to have someone who's the manager, i.e. coach. You're going to have someone who's the owner, i.e. principal. You're going to have someone who is the water boy. Okay, so without the water boy, no one gets to drink. If you don't drink, you're thirsty. So if you're thirsty, you can't think straight. You can't work right. So every component, every little piece of the team is quasi-central to success. It's what makes the team a championship team, because they're not wins and losses. They're wins and lessons. And you take those lessons and you turn them around and you say, oh man, you know what? I know I had this open shot. I've hit it 100 times. But what could I have done differently to allow not only a more successful outcome, but to empower my brother or my sister while I'm on the floor? And you take that lesson and you apply it to the next time you run across that situation, because as we all well know, basketball is not rocket science. It's a system. It's what you do, and it's a belief in the system. It's a belief in what you're being taught, and it's also the instruction that you're giving those students so that they understand it. If you talk above them, they don't want to listen. If you talk below them, then they don't really want to respect you. But if you look at them in the eye, if you sit down and you're face to face and you tell them, number one, I'm more concerned about your success. It's not about my success. I've done my thing. I'm more concerned about what your success is going to be. And here's the things I know that can help you with that. And you move from that point. And when I do that, it's just real. I don't see color. I just don't see it. It's not a part of my fiber, but because I don't see it, doesn't mean I don't understand it. So to understand it is to be strong in my color to whoever I'm talking to, no matter what color they are, so that they understand, like you said, Khalil, that every African American from the hood ain't selling rocks. Every African American male from the hood is not unemployed or don't care about their children, or don't care about the well-being of not only self, but the community around them. Every African American male is not like that. So what we find out a lot of times in social media is that they like to bring that out to light, that's kind of what's going on. Yeah, the propaganda is just, it's amazing. Like my god brother, Coach Alonzo Carter, who he and I grew up together in West Oakland together. And we both started out loving the sports and playing sports together. Now I'm on a Zoom with him with over 209 coaches across the country in every section, Pac-12, ACC, Big Ten, everybody. I'm on there. And the most beautiful part about it that I really loved was that it was about 75 to 80 wonderful women on there who are part of football. You understand? I mean, these women are entrenched in the football game, and to hear them speak, to hear their power, oh man, it just affirmed what I've done so far, being 19 years coaching college women's basketball. It's that piece. It's that piece that makes me, I went to, I was an altar boy in Catholic school. I was an altar boy, but right after that service, I had an hour to get myself together, and my grandfather, who lived a couple of houses away from me, would come and pick me up. And then I was at First Tabernacle Baptist Church, and I had to spend my time in Baptist church right after that. So I've had that upbringing. I've had that piece, my mother's side, very spiritual side, my father's side, very spiritual side. And so that's how we grew up. That's how we grew up. And that's how that's how I was able to infuse my knowledge upon other people. And I think a lot of parents see my love and my spirituality and my approach to how I deal with students, regular students, student athletes. They don't have to like sports at all, but I give them that aspect of, hey, you don't have to be a pro to play sports.
Yep.
Sports merely is just going to keep you living a healthy lifestyle. Yep. Oh, you don't have to like collard greens. There are other things that you can eat in order to keep your greens and to keep your healthiness about you. I have a book. I'll show it to you. What do you like? And so I empower them. And that part for me is the piece that has spearheaded me to be in this profession for 30 years. A lot of my friends professionalized in the NBA. A couple of them are in the Hall of Fame. We all grew up together, played hoop together, and they chose to professionalize in that area. And although I'd played some professional ball all around the world, hey, look, I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher first. And so in my recruiting of young ladies and talking to some parents this year, I told them, I said, hey, look, if you're looking for a coach who's going to yell and scream at your daughter to motivate them to do what they need to do, I'm not your guy. I'm just not your guy. So I don't want to waste your time. If that's what you're looking for, let me know now. And thank you very much for your time. And I'm telling you, every single one of them were like, no, that's not what we're looking for. We're so glad to hear that, because I'm a teacher first. You know, no one feels worse than the young person who makes the mistake. So why compound that with negative and denigrative approaches to getting them to fight through that mistake? It's just, it's an oxymoron. I'm not going to pour gas on fire to put it out.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do that.
Right.
Yeah. So man, that's it. That's how that's my core. That's my core. And I wake up every morning excited about opening the next pair of young eyes. That's
Nice.
me.
Nice.
Keith, you elaborate so well. I mean, you went over so many nuggets right in just that last response. And I mean, I'm over here taking notes, and I probably got, I mean, I got about 5 different avenues that I wanted to touch on. I mean, we got limited time here. We're gonna have to come back on to talk about the social dynamics of family, what it's like to be a father, you know, and how to have that, you know, mentality around fatherhood. And I mean, I went to church at Center Street on 10th and Center in West Oakland.
Oh wow!
I know West Oakland. I lived in Oakland for a number of years too, but I'm originally from San Francisco. So
Okay.
I mean, you touched on that. So I mean, it's just like I want to, because I know this call is we started our health conversation, right?
Yes.
But I want to elaborate, because you talked about communication, and that right there is, I think, is essential in everything, right? Because I mean, our platform is communication, right?
Exactly.
And us being able to communicate articulately enough to get our message across to help everyone out there that we're trying to help is essential. And you having those tools to be able to communicate to such a diverse community. You also mentioned that you know that you're a coach or a teacher for mentally challenged youth. So I mean, it's a wide spectrum of people that you are a mentor to, a coach to, a life partner to, and because I mean, it's Khalil, elaborate on that. You guys are a life partner. You guys, I mean, had that relationship from when Khalil was a youth, from yay high on up to now, and he's elaborated on what that relationship has meant to him. So that being said, the communication aspect, and then getting into health, because I don't know if Khalil has another question, but I want to at least touch on health a little bit before the end of the call. But where did you learn, and what is the importance that how much weight do you put on? Because you mentioned right away, you set the ground, you set the foundation with the conversation you first have with family or the people that you're talking with. Yeah. What type of coach are you looking for? What are your goals? What are you looking to do? If this is the type of person you're looking for, then that's not me. I've already, I've set that groundwork. So that communication starts from day one.
Yes.
And you also talked about the importance of understanding your team dynamics. That is applicable to anything. That's applicable to building your own business and hiring the right people around you, and knowing what your own weaknesses are.
Absolutely.
So, and knowing what you have to hire, what strengths you have to hire to make sure that you have the dynamics that you need to build a successful business. So one, I want to talk about your communication. So I'm going to get to the communication, and then also get to the importance of understanding the system, understanding the people that are around you, and how to speak to that, and what you need around you to build a successful team, business. Because obviously you have accolades. That's all the trophies behind you. You know how to build it. You know how to build a team. You know how to there you go.
Look at all the trophies.
Right.
Look at all the trophies.
Yeah, man, that's it. That's it. No,
real quick before you answer that, Keith, real quick, I just want people to know too, really, Benny, and Keith can attest to this before Keith answers. If you're a business owner, you have a team. You didn't start that business and run that business all by yourself.
Of course not.
A golfer has a team. Tiger Woods got a team. Tiger Woods not out there just carrying his bags and deciding on all the shots and coaching himself. A tennis player has a team. Any individual sport that you may think, because you only see the race car driver driving, he's got a team of people. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Benny, before I let you answer, Keith. We all have teams. If I'm the head of my household and I'm a single parent, I still need my kids to be part of my team, right? I need my community to be part of my team. I need Benny, stuff like that, to be part of my team. So I'll let you, I just want to elaborate on that part. Everybody got a team.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So the question is the dynamics around understanding what a team is, how to build that successful team, and then the important, and then also where did you learn your communication skills, and what is the importance of having those communication skills to speak to such a diverse community?
Well, again, if you look back, if you look back in history and you look back to when you were, well, when I was younger, a lot of my friends, we had African American friends. There was an influx of the Vietnamese culture that had come into the inner city, into West Oakland. There were the Latin Americans who were in there, and so a lot of my friends were, man, we rode our bikes together. We went through the Alameda Tube together, riding our bikes. We fixed our bikes together. We played sports together. So we were already, and back then it was safe. Back then it was safe to call yourself a gang, because back then the Little Rascals was prevalent. Everybody loved the Little Rascals growing up. And if you look at the dynamics of the Little Rascals, it wasn't one ethnicity in the Little Rascals, and they all weren't the same type as far as characteristics. There was one who thought he could sing. There was one who didn't have the best clothes. There was one who ate a lot of food. There was one who had a grown man's voice. You saw the dynamics. You saw the dynamics of what the Little Rascals was a collaboration of. And so we didn't, man, we simply enjoyed being together. So, it would be very common for us to go to our Latin American friend's house, and their moms are, she has the chorizo going, and Pops is outside grilling the big peppers. And it was very common to go to my Filipino friend's house, and Mom's is on the pancit, and we're on the adobo. And it was coming to my house, and the the ribs and the chicken and the collard greens and the potato pies and apple pie. All that was friends were just friends, and some of our friends in our group, their parents didn't have those means to do that. So we didn't exclude them. They were part of us. Maybe their bike, oh, that person, oh man, he has a flat tire. Oh man, don't worry about it. I'm ready to go ask my auntie for a couple of dollars. We're gonna ride over to Hank and Frank's, which was right there in East Oakland. We're gonna grab him an inner tube. We're gonna put it together, and he back rolling with us. I mean, that was just the upbringing that we came up with, man. We didn't exclude people. We didn't exclude people, no matter what they wore. If you had a mongoose or a BMX bike, you was doing your thing. But if you had to go to Sears and get you a Huffy, we was gonna make that Huffy the best Huffy in the land. We was gonna put that Huffy together. It was gonna be tight. You was gonna be able to do some of the same things we did. If we had to go to Hank and Frank's and switch your pedals out and switch your rims out, you was gonna be tight with us. That's how we were brought up. And so all that did was infuse in me the importance of respect for self and respect for others, no matter what color, no matter what demographics. It didn't matter. It didn't matter for me. I grew up in the Coliseum. My uncle played for the Warriors in '72. He played with Nate Thurman and Jim Barnett, and Al Addles was his coach. I went to St. Mary's College High School with his son, Al Addles III. We still good friends. And see, back then, people don't realize that St. Mary's College High School was an all-boys school back then. Yep. So it wasn't girls in the school back then. And so our school was ran primarily by Christian brothers. And, I know Catholic school has gotten a real bad rap with some of the things that we struggle with. And I can tell you right now, as a young man and as a teacher and a young man going to Catholic school, it wasn't my experience. And it just wasn't. So while a lot of people tend to harp on some of the bad things that organization and the diocese has brought into existence, a lot of it on the other side was way more positive and way more influential in a lot of kids' life, and has made us who we are today, our fiber. And so just to reiterate and go back on the solace of team, you know, when you're rooted in team, when you're rooted in those things, like when we had to go out, my family's from down south, you know, my parents' family from my grandfather from Arkansas, and then moving hoboing at the age of 9, my grandfather, all the way on the train at 9 years old, and landing in Visalia in Tulare, where he met my grandmother and my great grandfather. And my grandmother had, you know, a ton of sisters. And my great grandfather brought him onto the land to help do the land stuff at 9 years old. And that's how my grandmother met. That's how my father was born. That's how my aunties was born. That's how it happened. And to have my mother's side, and we're from Monroe, Louisiana on that side. And so all that had to do with farming. All that had to do with growing your own products, your own produce. And so in West Oakland, it wasn't uncommon to have a big garden in the backyard with some of the same things the three of us talked about before this episode started. So it took all of us to till that land. It took all of us to plant those seeds and get that stuff in there. So teamwork has been a part of keeping the house together. Teamwork has been a part of playing with my friends and who my friends were outside. And definitely teamwork, it was a part of my school environment, because that's what we did. We couldn't wait till basketball season started or baseball season started. We couldn't wait for that, because not only did we get to play with each other, but then we got to compete against other people who we became friends with, which some of us eventually went to the same high schools. So we became even closer. So that team atmosphere and that team orientation from the root is kind of what empowers me, what keeps me going, because I hate to see a kid who doesn't understand how the importance of teamwork. And it's real simple. If you break it down into one simple statement, teamwork is simply this: recognizing the importance of each individual inside of a group, period. Very important. Nice. Everyone is important. Every single one, from the bookkeeper to the, like I said, from the water boy, bookkeeper, ball boy, whoever it is, mascot, whoever it is, they're an important piece to the group, makes the group whole. So that for me is where I kind of root my instruction. You know, I don't look at it as a person of leadership. Hey, I'm the guy. I'm the HNIC. I don't look at it like that. I look at it as I'm the guy who has the information. I'm the guy who's supposed to intellectually disseminate that information to the next person, so that they can do the same to the next person, which we of course call the butterfly effect. And that's what we want to try and instill in our youth today. We see the movement. We see the movement right now. The movement is strong. And where the civil rights movement had its own course, man, this right here, what we see, man, it's called civil disobedience. You know, protesting good things, you know, proclamating that this is the way it should be, and standing up for those who don't have a voice for themselves, you know. So Black Lives Matter, and when I hear people say all lives matter, and then I say, well, okay, isn't Black a part of all? So if all lives matter, we wouldn't even have the Black Lives Matter movement if all lives matter. So I take those things that we hear out there in the propaganda, and I peel the onion on them. And by peeling that onion, it gives those people, no matter what color they are, a different lens, you know, more lenses to look at something in a different light. And that's my root. That's my root of development for anybody I come in contact with.
I love that breakdown of team and its simplicity. I'm going to go back and listen to this call and make sure I get that word for word verbatim. Me, Khalil and I, we like to have our acronyms. And we've talked about a number of different ones. And when you mentioned that, you know, it brought me in the mind of, you know, one of the things I always say is, if you want to go fast, and I've learned this from a team that I was on, If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. You know, it takes a team, it takes an army to go further. You know, and no one can be a billionaire. Everybody, you know, nobody can be a millionaire. Nobody can build a successful team. Nobody can, whether it's a business, a sports team, or whatever, alone. You know, it takes everybody, the importance of everybody around you to build the dynamics and to be able to work together. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, even when there's not a team atmosphere or orientation in it, it's one sport that I can name in specifics, and it's not a grand sport. It's not a sport that you would even consider a sport, some people, but tetherball. You don't have a coach in tetherball. You swing that ball, you hit that ball, you make your own decisions, but it still has to be cooperation with the person who you are competing against. And when you have that cooperation, is seemingly some of the things that we can't get in our upper branches of government right now. When you have that cooperation, when you're on either side of the tetherball, you still have to play by the rules. And you can't cheat in the rules. You know, you have to follow the set of rules that are within the concept of tetherball. And so that's like my outlet when, you know, when I have kids who kind of struggle with trying to buy into the team-oriented atmosphere and the concept. I say, well, hey, look, this is what you do. I want you to go over there and stand in line. I'll make sure you get your turn. Go ahead and play some tetherball. I said, because then you get to make your own choices and you get to make your own decisions, but still you have to follow the rules of tetherball. You're your own coach. You get to make your own, you get to say, I'm gonna swing it with my hand, or I'm gonna hit it with my fist or my hand. You get to make all those choices, but still follow the rules of the game. And so, you know, and a lot of some of them buy into it. They love tetherball, but then it's a couple of my guys who look over at me and like, okay, Mr. Allison, I understand. Can I go back to football now? I'll be a better teammate. I go. Yeah, get in there. Get in there. Now you understand what I'm saying. You know what I'm trying to give you. Yes, Mr. Allison, I understand. I
was one of those guys. I wasn't the biggest tetherball. My son loved tetherball, but that's because my son is not into sports. And what I'm trying to tell him about sports is he played two teams. He played basketball and soccer, and I was his coach on both. We won championships in both. All right. Basketball.
Hey, look at you. See him stick his chest out of the. We won championship.
I got it.
All right, coach. We got next call. He's gonna have his trophies behind him.
They gave us medals for those. But look, what I'm trying to tell my son though is this, because he's not into sports at all, and we talked about this with Jordan Bethany last call. Is number one, you don't have to be into sports to care about your physical well-being, to care about your health, to care about the longer process. And the longer process means if I want to be around till I'm 85, 90 years old, I might want to take care of this vessel that I'm in to make sure it can accommodate 85 to 90 years. That's number one. But number two, I keep trying to tell them, at least get involved in some sports because of all of the things that you just mentioned. Sports, in my estimation, are a barrier breaker, because in sports, it's so inclusive. I've played on teams with every walk of life, from Hispanic to Native American to Middle Eastern to Black to white, people who got money, people who don't have money, people who driving and practicing cars, people who getting dropped off, people who driving buses, people who got brand new sneaks when the season started, people who wearing the same sneaks that they wore on the park earlier today. I mean, you learn to rely on your teammates at that point. You learn to say, you know what, forget the exterior, forget the posterior, forget all that. What's on the interior, and how can this dude help me and my team win? And when you start tearing those barriers down, at that point, my boy Kazim, my boy Thomas, my boy Joe, my boy Michael, like those my dudes on my team now. And I know Thomas and Kazim got down low. Joe, he the all-time scorer. Me and Mike go hold down the backcourt. Once you know, like you said, if I know the dude who can make the fries, the guy who can make the burger, the guy who can make the nuggets, the guy who can make the salad, the guy who can make the shakes, at that point, I got a full meal, right? I got a full meal. And that's the same thing that sports induces, it entices, it implies, it all of these different things that it does, to where if you can, and I love sports because it's applicable to life. Anything I've ever learned in sports, I've taken into what Benny and I do, into what Keith and I do, into what me and my children do. My dynamic with everybody is based upon my upbringing with sports. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad that we got to have you on here, because physical ties into mental, mental ties into physical, all of that ties into spiritual. You got to have a good relationship spiritually to keep you right emotionally, to keep you right physically, to keep you right financially, keep you right physically. All these things tie in together. And you said it so eloquently throughout this interview on what led you to where you are, the importance that it plays. I'm a walking testament of being a product of what you have put back into your community. So anybody who I put in is a derivative of what Keith is putting in his community through me. And that's all. And somebody put it into him, whether it's his parents or somebody else, they instilled it into him. And I'm going to continue to instill it into other people moving forward. So I just want to say this was impactful for me, even at my age now, and knowing you for so long. This was still impactful because this just, for me, it ties it, it loops it back around. It's a big 360 where I'm like, man. So I appreciate you for coming on, because you just shed light on what I've experienced with you, through you, what other people are experiencing with you, through you. Benny now got to experience it. Anybody watching this show, the hundreds of you that will watch this show, you'll get to experience it. This is not Keith's last time on the show. We will have him back on the show. But dude, you got me spiritually and emotionally filled to the brim right now. And I can't thank you enough. I love you, brother. I love you, man.
Back, man. Love you back, man. And now I got a new brother in Benny. He was my brother after the first episode. I was like, man, this boy, he's sharper than a tack turned upside down. I'm gonna be with you guys. I'm gonna, anything that I can do to help continue this platform that you guys have, man. I am in. I'm 2 feet in, 100%, guys. You guys are great and doing awesome work. Awesome.
Man, you warm my spirit, man. Keith, thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing so much. Man, it was a pleasure, and it was a great conversation. And like I said, I look forward to these conversations. And today I learned a lot. And just thank you again. Man, and I look forward to the next time we have you on the show.
Man, that's cool.
But yeah, this, everybody watching, seriously, he just shared some light on the importance of mentorship, the importance of being active in your community. And it doesn't have to be on the grandest of levels. Sometimes it could be here. He went from shooting hoop to being assistant coach to being PE teacher, and now he didn't coach back to back champions. He's doing different things. He's impacting people's lives. Anybody watching this, get involved. Please get involved. Mentor somebody, not just your own children. Go find a local Boys and Girls Club. Go find a local Salvation Army, Croc Center, any of these different things, and give back. I think Jasper said it the other day that sometimes giving back, or it may be a conversation I had with somebody else, or it may have been Jasper, I'm not sure. But giving back to your community sometimes means getting involved in some of these nonprofits, getting involved in coaching, getting involved in mentorship. So thank you for coming on and talking about that, shedding some light. This is what a mentor looks like, guys. This right here. So for anybody watching our show, please, we're driving more viewership to our YouTube channel. So anybody watching the show, and Benny said it at the beginning, but I'm going to say it at the end. The first thing we want you to do, press pause, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. There's more content to come. If you watch it through Facebook, please go to YouTube and hit the subscribe and the like. Make sure you go to Coach Keith Allison's page on YouTube. I'm on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Follow him and what he's doing. Let's support the college that he's coaching right now, Contra Costa Community College. Let's support the ladies. Let's get out there and push them to a championship. But my brother, I thank you for spending this beautiful Sunday afternoon with us, with our guests. And I'll be talking. I'm going to call you soon so we can talk after this too.
All right, man. Blessing, man. Thank you guys for having me out.
No problem. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, man.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.